Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for coming to watch. So we got guys an update on a pretty significant severe weather event that we have currently unfolding across portions of the Southeast United States. We also do have an update on some trouble in the tropics. I've got all the details coming right up. So thank you for joining me here on this Friday evening. We have a lot to talk about in this video. We're going to be going over, again, just the latest details on our current weather across the country as well as in the tropics, like I mentioned, because we do have some activity possibly brewing in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. So we're going to start here by taking a look at your current radar. And you can see we do have our storm system currently spinning here across the eastern United States. It is producing some of these severe thunderstorms back into portions of the mid-Atlantic and the southeast. We've been seeing some tornadoes today. We do have a very strong, likely intense, EF2 to EF3 tornado into portions of central Kentucky, praying for everyone that's involved. But some storms in the D.C. area this evening, definitely going to be a stormy night. But that low pressure system that you see here on radar is going to continue to move up to the east here, and it's going to impact portions of southern New England and the rest of the coastal northeast here. And we will be talking about, again, that threat of some very strong damaging winds, but also definitely some heavy rain and some lightning. So make sure you're being well prepared tonight for those storms. This will likely come in through the overnight hours as we get, as the storm continues to get farther and farther to the north. But the rest of the country looks pretty good, surprisingly. We've been talking about some pretty stormy activity the past couple of days, but you can see the west and the central United States especially has cleared out, so pretty nice days overall for you guys as of today. But things are going to change as we go later and later into the month of June. Alright, so we're going to be moving on here to your alerts, and you can see we do have a few things going on. Again, we do have a severe thunderstorm watch going out for portions of eastern North Carolina into South Carolina, back into southern Georgia there. So again, the threats of a few tornadoes, damaging winds, and some small hail are certainly possible. You can see we also do have a tornado watch going out for portions of northern North Carolina, portions of central Virginia, and far western Maryland there. So again, the threat for tornadoes certainly does exist in those areas. So we have been seeing many tornado warnings today, as there have been a few areas of rotation that have definitely had the potential to produce tornadoes, and I expect that to continue for the next couple of hours. So if you do be happening to watch this video from one of those areas, just a couple minutes after it gets posted, make sure you are staying weather aware. They have multiple ways to receive warnings, because again, that line of showers and storms is definitely going to be capable of producing tornadoes. But we do also have a flood watch going out for portions of northern New Jersey back into southeastern PA and the rest of Delmarva there. So that's going to be for that heavy rain that's moving in tonight. We do have a slight risk of excessive rainfall from the Weather Prediction Center. Again, for those areas that are going to be talking about the heavy downpours tonight. We do also have some air quality alerts going out for portions of Minnesota back into Wisconsin and portions of Michigan. And the reason why is because Canadian wildfire smoke. Yes, we are talking about that again. I don't know if you guys remember, but I believe back in the summer of 2022, we did have that really badly up here in the northeastern United States. I do remember the sky was very orange over here as the smoke made it all the way back down to where I live in Long Island and the New York City metro area. Pretty apocalyptic scenes. So we're going to talk about that briefly in today's update, but you can see also the western United States does have some heat advisories in that orange shade going out for portions of western Montana, portions of southern Idaho, eastern Oregon here, and Washington State, going back down into portions of coastal California and northern Nevada. So if you are in any of these areas, make sure you are, again, staying cool, staying hydrated. We also do have some excessive heat warnings going out for portions of southern Nevada, including Las Vegas. And then we also do have some excessive heat warnings going out here for portions of southeastern California. So again, just make sure you're staying hydrated, that you're staying cool, and just that you're really taking care of yourself, as we do have some pretty excessive heat ongoing as of right now. But starting out here, we're going to be taking a look at the rest of the night, kind of the outlook here, hour by hour. We're going to be going through what we got to talk about here and what we're going to be looking for with the severe weather event across portions of the Carolinas and into Virginia. So again, this is as of 3 p.m. today. You can see we did have the storms firing off across portions of Virginia and the Carolinas, and then these have really grown upscale since then. And you can see as we get to about where we are right now in the simulated reflectivity, you can see this strong line of storms moving down into portions of North Carolina here, and this continues through the evening and overnight hours, and you can see especially towards DC, this is when we're talking about, more of a linear mode, but back down into portions of Southern Virginia, like Richmond, Virginia Beach. These are the areas where we could still have pockets of inflow and semi-discrete cells that could definitely end up producing tornadoes. We even do see a updraft helicity track here on this run of the HRRR showing up just south of the DC Metro. So, again, this is kind of showing you guys where we have sporadic potential of seeing tornadoes. And so, later tonight for the Carolinas, on the southern mode, you can see we do have more of a linear threat, which usually is going to bring more of a damaging wind threat here into portions of far southeastern North Carolina, back into South Carolina, so Wilmington, Jacksonville, Greenville, all the way up to Virginia Beach. This is where we're really talking about the biggest damaging wind threat, but then the tornado threat, the highest tornado threat, is going to exist a little bit farther north, basically from areas around Richmond points north. So again, DC to Richmond is really where I have kind of the golden zone there for the best chance of seeing tornadoes. And so that's really where I do think we need to stay prepared. And then by the late overnight hours, those storms should be well on their way out of the area. So we do move on here to the Storm Prediction Center outlook for today. You can see we do have an enhanced level 3 out of 5 risk for severe weather, including portions of central North Carolina back into coastal South Carolina and portions of eastern Georgia. Again, this is level 3 out of 5 risk. We also do have a slight risk extending all the way from extreme northern Florida all the way up the eastern seaboard into portions of southern New Jersey there, and also including Philadelphia. So very, very populated areas here. But if we take a look at your tornado threat, you can see it is a 5%, extending back down here from southern New Jersey into the Delmarva area and northern North Carolina. So again, that's the same exact area we were talking about earlier. Really from Raleigh all the way up through southern New Jersey is where we're talking about the biggest tornado threat, and really that damaging wind threat is going to be a little bit higher back down in the Carolinas, and we do see that here on your wind threat, as it is a 30% dawn hatch. This is what's driving your enhanced risk. Again, that is including portions of central North Carolina into coastal South Carolina and portions of eastern Georgia. So that's, again, what's going to be driving your enhanced risk. That's a 30% risk of seeing damaging wind gusts within 25 miles of a given location. And you can see we do have a 15% surrounding that area in the yellow shade. And then finally, your hail threat, it is relatively low today, but it is elevated. You have a 15% back here up to the north, where we do have more semi-discrete cells. So really where you don't see the linear mode, that's where you're going to probably see the biggest hail threat, because again, those storms are going to be able to develop at least some relatively larger hail cores. But for the most part, that's really where we're going to be seeing the largest hail, if any, for today. Alright, so move over here to the National Hurricane Center outlook. We're going to be shifting our attention to the tropics. And you will notice that we do have our first named storm of the season for the Eastern Pacific hurricane season. You can see we do have Tropical Storm Alvin currently out here in the Pacific, here just south of Baja, California. Currently at a maximum central pressure of right around 1,000 millibars, but you can see maximum sustained winds are only at 50 miles per hour. So right now, just got a tropical storm, but this is moving northwest at around 10 miles per hour. So again, this is gonna be going up towards the eastern coast of Mexico, and then you can see we also do have another 30% chance of development behind it for another system that may develop. So things are brewing here in the Pacific, and we may even see Alvin take an aim at, again, the southern tip of Baja, California. So we really will have to kind of watch out for that possible flooding threat, and so we'll break that down here in just a moment. But we take a look at your current satellite loop. This is what we have going on right now for Alvin. You can see he does have a pretty good circulation going on, with that nice convection starting to pop off in the center of the circulation. But you will notice on the southern side of the storm, especially with kind of the later end of this loop, you can see that these rain bands here, the tropical storm bands, these are starting to get sheared apart. So the storm is dealing with a heavily sheared environment, which again is going to tear this system apart, but also it's sucking in a lot of dry air. You can see into that circulation. This is where all the dry air is going, and it's going to be going right into the center of circulation, so that's going to kind of rip Alvin apart as he continues to move north into more unfavorable conditions. So the good news is that this storm is expected to weaken. We can actually move over here to the official National Hurricane Center forecast count, you can see as of 2 p.m. Friday, we did have that tropical storm wind field pretty large there, including most of the system. But the thing is, the storm is expected to continue to move north here, weakening to a tropical depression by the late morning hours of tomorrow, and then really by tomorrow night, we are expecting this thing to make a technical landfall here on the southern tip of Baja California in Mexico here, again, as a tropical depression. So very weak system here, could not even be a named storm anymore, could just be an extratropical cyclone. But again, pretty limited and kind of minor impacts expected to Mexico, but we really aren't worrying about a whole lot much, as we are kind of getting to the end of Alvin's life cycle. Alright, so we're going to be moving back here over to satellite, as we are going to be taking a look at what we've got going on over portions of the upper Midwest. As you will notice, some smoke, very, very dense smoke, marching its way down south, and this is because of, like I mentioned earlier in the update, Canadian wildfires. So all that smoke is getting pushed down into the northern United States due to the southerly winds here, and this is going to be causing some big-time air quality problems for portions of the northern half of the country here. And so if we look on the satellite loop, you can see the densest smoke seems to be over portions of eastern South Dakota into Nebraska and farther back down here into western Iowa, but we have been seeing those kind of, red suns, the red sunrises. That's indicative of, again, that dense smoke moving in, but you can see even some smoke all the way back down into Illinois, and this will continue to move south here over the next couple of hours as we get into the evening, and especially into the weekend here. And so we can actually track this on the simulated model run here from the HRRR. You can see that's your round of smoke currently moving in that we just saw on radar. Here come, or on satellite, but here comes a second one. Alright, coming out on the backside, and this one seems to be very, very dense, getting very, very, high values here on the HRRR. This is getting into your Saturday evening and Sunday afternoon, really a smoky and kind of hazy weekend, but even, maxing out the scale here into portions of far western Minnesota. So again, this is going to be a very concerning problem for portions of the Midwest with those air quality alerts in effect. We really need to make sure that everyone is mostly staying, indoors, as it is not going to be, a healthy environment. But air quality indexes are going to be very, very bad and very, very high. So again, you really want to make sure that you're kind of limiting your time indoors. But as we get towards the end of the run, taking a look at what we've got into Sunday evening, an even more kind of denser pocket of smoke coming down from Canada. So will it be as bad as 2022? I doubt it, but I really do think that we need to be concerned for some of these areas, and I don't think it's being talked about enough, because I think that this is going to cause some big-time problems for especially those kind of, elderly people, and also people that kind of, don't really do well with dealing with this kind of situation. So again, we really need to make sure that everyone is staying aware of the, ongoing situation. But we move over here to the GFS. We're going to be taking a look at now the eastern United States, as we do have possible activity in the Atlantic now. And so we take a look at the latest GFS run. This is the 12Z run. You can see we do get a named storm potentially, or a tropical disturbance, to move up through Cuba into portions of the southeast. Now, you will notice this is 264 hours out. So we do have a 976 millibar low, but I don't want you to go tell your cousins, cats, friends, dog that there is going to be a Category 3 hurricane on the southern tip of Florida on June 10th. That is not going to happen. What we're looking at here is a significant signal from the GFS that we could have a named storm potentially as we get into the first week or so of June, and that storm could potentially take a name at the southeast United States. And the reason why we're not saying that, this is, total whack is because we actually look at the past runs of the GFS, and like the 6Z here, and you can see the morning run showed an even stronger system. Again, this is not going to happen, but you can see when you get those runs where it shows, a major hurricane in the Gulf, that's when you need to start getting, a little bit more concerned that, potentially we could have a tropical disturbance as we get into June. Now, is it expected? No. Is it possible? Yes. really what we got to do is continue to wait for other models to potentially cave into the GFS. And if that does happen, we'll see if the National Hurricane Center says anything about it, and then we can start talking about potential impacts and if the storm is actually going to form. But we look at here for the last part of the update, the European ensemble, in case you guys are wondering, well, do other models agree with the GFS? And no. The European just does not agree. It only shows 2 tracks out of, 30 or whatever members. I don't even know how many there are. But again, this is not the singular European run. This is the ensembles. This is putting together a bunch of ensembles here from the European model and kind of putting them into this one kind of spaghetti model is what I like to call it. You only get 2 tracks here, only one showing up about 993 and 988 millibars. So far, the European does not agree with the GFS. So really, we're just gonna have to wait and see here if the European does eventually cave into the GFS, or if the GFS just completely stops. So that's all I got for you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and that's gonna be pretty much it. So thank you for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video.